Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Cage Review. My name is Kevin Jacklitz, and I wanted to start doing reviews on wrestling pay-per-views to add to my wrestling section. And the reason I wanted to do that is because I think it's fun to just bounce ideas back and forth off members of YouTube and getting different ideas, what people think of the product nowadays. I've been watching wrestling since WrestleMania 3, and I actually went back and watched WrestleMania 1 and 2. So, I mean, this is something I've been a part of for a very long time. And I've even gone back and watched, some of the AWA and WCCW and just all of these really old companies that have transformed into what was WCW and WWE and TNA. So, I've seen the progression over the years as to how the product has changed, how we've gone from having these incredibly over-the-top characters and really relying on the storylines to tell a story and make it more of an actual soap opera, to nowadays it seems like it's moving very performance-based. You have to be very good in the ring, not necessarily on the mic. They develop more your entrance than they do your character. And there's a lot of things right with that, and there's a lot of things wrong with that. I think it's great that you're getting guys that can actually put on a hell of a show in the ring. I do like the aerial moves and the acrobatic type shit. What I don't like is that they've lost character, they've lost storyline. If you're not invested in these people, why would you give a shit who wins or loses? And that's one thing, personally, as a fan, I think WWE is failing at miserably lately. And honestly, this pay-per-view that I'm going to review, Clash of Champions, is a perfect example of that. This is SmackDown pay-per-view. And to be very honest, I'm not sure who's doing better right now, Raw or SmackDown. I haven't really kept up. I've just been watching the main pay-per-views. But that's going to change as of probably this week. I'm going to, at least keep up with the storylines and see if it's even interesting anymore. For a while there, it really wasn't. But for Clash of Champions, we start off with Bobby Roode, Dolph Ziggler, and Baron Corbin. I'm going to start off by saying right off the bat, I know there's some Corbin fans. I'm not. I think he's not very talented in the ring. He's usually in the wrong place. He's kind of stiff, moving. And he has zero personality to back that up. And that's what I think really hits home with me. This guy is a blank slate almost all the time. So I wasn't really invested because they haven't done anything with Dolph Ziggler. And Dolph Ziggler, some people are hating on Ziggler. I'm not sure why. A few years ago he was right at the top of the roster because the guy is a hard worker and I think he can put on a hell of a match. And that's been proven time and time again. I mean, he used to go out and just absolutely kill it, and for some reason people don't see that that's the case anymore. And I don't know if that's because WWE has just been burying him relentlessly, or we've had such an influx of really good performers that, maybe he doesn't stand out as much anymore. And then we have Bobby Roode, who I do really like. I think he's kind of taken his glorious shtick and worked it really well. He's pretty good in the ring, but he's new, and I don't know if WWE is not pushing him because of his age, or they just don't think he's marketable, but I think he should be a little bit further up the roster than he is. The match itself was decent, not great. They had some really good spots, but nothing that really stood out to me. Honestly, I think, being about a week removed from it, it's a pretty forgettable match. There are some really cool things at the end, like where Bobby Roode puts the Impaler DDT on Ziggler, and then Corbin grabs Roode and tries to throw him out the ring. Roode reverses. They had a couple of really cool spots, and a couple of things that were like, all right, this is pretty cool, but nothing that stood out. So that match, decent, not great. Then we move on to a backstage segment with Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon, where they're talking about how that's going to work with 2 referees and why did Daniel Bryan add himself. And Daniel Bryan's trying to build up the fact that, okay, Shane McMahon is kind of going the tyrannical route and just trying to get rid of 2 guys that he doesn't like, and Daniel Bryan's trying to give him a fair chance. Again, decent segment, but forgettable. Then we move into Charlie interviews Corbin. Kind of pointless. He's pissed off because he loses the belt to Dolph Ziggler. I was really surprised that they gave the belt to Ziggler since they haven't really done anything with him. And more confused because we know that the Tuesday following, Dolph Ziggler just lays the United States title on the mat, walks out of the ring, and supposedly is leaving WWE. Fans don't deserve him, nobody deserves him, blah, blah, blah. And apparently he's not leaving WWE, he's still doing live shows, he's still under contract, but for some reason they're doing that shtick, and I don't get any of it. I have not understood WWE creative for probably the last decade. So Corbin's pissed in the interview, he's throwing stuff around, pointless pretty much, just a space filler. And then we move into the Tag Team Champions for SmackDown Fatal 4-Way. And this is Aiden English versus Rusev. They come out first. Aiden English is singing his 12 Days of Rusev. It's massively over with the crowd. The crowd's going crazy with Rusev Day. Rusev has done a really good job of getting himself over with this gimmick. I don't know if he created it or if somebody else created it, but it's really caught, which is cool. I'm not the biggest fan of Rusev either. He's good, not great. Needs a lot of mic work, and you know, he's just your typical big guy. So he can move around a little bit better than some of the big guys, but still your typical big guy. But I do like the fact that he's playing off of the crowd and he's kind of doing his Chung Lee kind of bit from, I don't know if you guys ever seen that Jean-Claude Van Damme movie Bloodsport, where Chung Lee's just having this like little fit as the crowd chants his name. Well, Rusev is kind of incorporating that into his shtick now, which is kind of funny, kind of cool. But that sets the tone for the match. The crowd is already really behind these two. And then you have the other guys come out, which is Benjamin and Gable. You have the New Day and the Usos. So the match is pretty entertaining. You have some really cool spots. You have Gable doing some really impressive feats of strength with these suplexes, especially when he grabs Big E and just flings them. That was pretty impressive. You know, you always have the typical Usos doing the dives over the ropes. And I love shit like that. It's great spots for a match. It gets you really excited for it. They had a lot of back and forth with it. Eventually, Usos pull out the win. Gable, he's in the series of doing the suplexes to everybody. And he grabs one of the Usos, the twin, kicks him in the face. Kicks him in the face again. Then the guy that Gable had runs out the ring, jumps up to the top rope, does a splash. Usos win. So, really good match overall, I thought. I really liked this one. Not too much bad to say about it. The Usos, when they come out and they kind of did their 12 days of lockdown, I could have taken that or leaving that one, honestly. But still, overall, if that was the only thing bad I had to say about it, then it was still a good match. So from there, you have Charlotte Flair versus Natalya in this lumberjack match. And one of the biggest problems I have with this match right off the bat is you have virtually the whole women's roster out here for this lumberjack match. And you have two faces and the rest are heels. One of the faces is Charlotte and she's in the fucking match. The other face is Naomi. So you have the entire Riot Squad, you have Lana, you have Carmella, who I think is absolutely fucking pointless. I can't think of the other chicks. Oh, Snuka, Tamina Snuka. And, you know, it kind of made it a very one-sided affair. Okay, Charlotte's going to get knocked out of the ring. They're going to beat the hell out of her. They're going to throw her in. And when Natty gets knocked in, they're just going to let her back in the ring. Finally, it kind of breaks down where the Riot Squad and the rest of the women's locker room kind of get in a brawl amongst themselves, which gives Charlotte Flair the opportunity to put on the figure 8. So Flair retains. I don't know. You know, this is a match where I think they could have done a lot more than they did with it, which it seems to be a theme with WWE nowadays. I think they had a lot of potential that wasn't used. So I don't know what to say about that. A couple of cool spots, you know, Charlotte Flair doing the backflip off the top rope to the outside. That's kind of one of her shticks nowadays, which is very cool to see. I like it. She's super athletic. Really don't have much bad to say about Flair. But I just feel like the match overall was okay at best. It could have been a lot better. So that was kind of, you know, like I said, take it or leave it. And then they shoot to a Natalya interview right off the loss inside the ring, and typical heel response, you guys don't deserve me, blah blah blah. Starts crying, walks away. Don't know if that means this is some kind of leading towards her leaving WWE. God knows she's been there forever. I think she's the longest performing female wrestler there. So, you know, maybe that's leading up to it's time for her to check out. But then we move into Charlie interviews the Singh brothers about Jinder Mahal's match with AJ. Typical, you know, who gives a shit building up Jinder Mahal. Nobody cares. So, we move into probably the most ridiculous part of the night, which was Bries comes out, and I don't know if you guys have been keeping tabs on SmackDown. They've had this thing called the Fashion Files, and they're building this case for whatever the fuck they're building for, and it's been pretty amusing. And then somebody destroys their office, and they figure it's the Bludgeon Brothers. So you've had this Fashion Files thing going on for weeks, months, and it's all building up to something. And then it builds up to the Bludgeon Brothers, who come out and absolutely squash Breezango. Not even a competition, just a complete squash match. Pointless, absolutely waste of a good storyline because they lack in storylines and they blew it. Which again is typical. Don't understand what WWE is doing. So, you know, makes the Bludgeon Brothers look tough. Squash match, they win, they say something after the match. Wasn't really interested. Then Charlie interviews Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. This is building up more of the setup between Daniel Bryan and Shane O'Mac, and you know, they're saying Daniel Bryan's there to do the right thing and Daniel Bryan's got their back, and well, it was a pretty good interview. Kevin Owens is pretty damn good on the mic. He really sells. And I think he carries Sami Zayn, who is not as good on the mic. So, you know, I really wish they would really utilize Kevin Owens in the upper echelon of the roster, because he's definitely main event caliber. And he's been, like, I think upper mid card, and I think he should be, you know, upper card. He's definitely got the skills all around. He's damn good in the ring. He can put on a hell of a performance. I don't give a fuck how big he is. A lot of people are talking about, well, he's fat. Well, that fat boy can move. He can do some moves that a lot of guys in there cannot. So, and the fact that he can talk so good and sell so good on a mic just makes the guy, you know, a commodity. And I don't understand why he's not being used to its fullest potential. So they set up the match. Then Charlie asked, well, what if you guys lose and, you know, you get fired from WWE altogether? Long silence, they just walk away. So then comes the match. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus Randy Orton and Nakamura. The two special referees, Shane McMahon, Daniel Bryan. And it was kind of a chaotic match because, you know, you're trying to figure out how they're going to work out the referee thing, and that story's being played out during the match. Sorry, I had a phone call. But, okay, so what happens is Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are, you know, the heels that Shane McMahon's trying to get kicked out. Daniel Bryan's trying to make everything fair. There's a lot of confusion in the match. There's a point where there's a submission hold. And I think it was on, I don't know, it was either Randy Orton or Nakamura who was in the submission hold. And then whoever had him, Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn, was on the mat. And so Daniel Bryan starts counting because is either Owens or Zayn had his shoulders on the mat. And then McMahon's like, what are you doing? It's a submission hold. And Daniel Bryan's like, you know, he had his shoulders on the ground. And I'm not even sure that that was a spot. I think that might have just been something that happened. There was a part where Shane McMahon is about to count, I think it was Kevin Owens down. And then Daniel Bryan like falls on him. Oh no, it was Sami Zayn was on the ground, and then Kevin Owens looked like he actually tripped Daniel Bryan up. Daniel Bryan falls on Shane McMahon. And so there's just this back and forth with that whole thing. They're trying to build up the storyline between Daniel Bryan and Shane O'Mac. And eventually what happens is, again, Orton has Zayn down, and Shane McMahon's going to count to 3. He's got 2, goes down, and then stops his hand before he hits 3, and he's not going to count Orton out. Sorry, backwards. Sami Zayn had Orton down. And, you know, Shane McMahon's not going to do the 3 count. So Daniel Bryan actually starts shoving McMahon. They get a lot heated. The crowd starts going crazy for Daniel Bryan. And then, at the end of the match, Zayn rolls up Orton really quick. Daniel Bryan flies to the mat, does a really quick 3 count to make sure that they get a fair shake. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens win. A lot of the spots were good in the match. I mean, it was a decent match overall. I mean, you've got some pretty good workers in there, for sure. Not one of them is used to the best of their ability. And unfortunately, that hurt the match. And I think, honestly, the storyline hurt the match in a lot of ways. It was kind of a rehashing of the SmackDown just before that. You know, take it or leave it. I don't know. I think they're doing a good job of building the storyline for Daniel Bryan and Shane O'Mac. And I feel this match was just a side note to that storyline. So, in a way, that's kind of unfortunate. And the last match of the night is AJ Styles versus Jinder Mahal. Holy shit, another Jinder Mahal main event. I'm sure we're all tired of it. Don't want to fucking see this guy in the main event scene. He's gotten better on the mic. He, to me, has not gotten better in the ring. He is very stiff. Like, this guy is one of the stiffest fucking workers I've seen. And I don't mean hard hitting. I mean movements. He is not fluid in that ring whatsoever. He's very jerky. He's in the wrong spots a lot of the time. In this match, it didn't happen so much, but still, he's just not fun to see in the ring. He is just not entirely coordinated. He relies completely on his strength and physique. And, while he does look the part now, I'll give him 100% credit for that, and he has improved his mic skills, Jinder Mahal. He just is not what I want to see. Other people may have a different opinion. That's okay. Not a problem. But Jinder Mahal, to me, is just not a top-tier guy. He's not a main event caliber wrestler. And AJ Styles did have to carry this match, for sure. On the flip side, you have one of the best performers ever in WWE in AJ Styles. Absolutely incredibly athletic. And, so he did carry a lot of what Jinder Mahal couldn't do. But that leaves this match okay at best. AJ has to have a partner to make it look good. And Jinder just isn't that guy. So they tried to sell Jinder Mahal being a badass, and he was winning 75% of this match with no interference from the Singh brothers. And they're like, oh, he's finally doing it all on his own. And then finally, towards the end of the match, AJ gets the upper hand. The Singh brothers, they get involved, of course. AJ takes them out. That opens up Jinder Mahal to, get his finishing move and not win. AJ kicks out. So that was pretty cool that they're selling AJ now at this point. And, it basically comes down to AJ pulls out the win, of course, retains. Honestly, I don't remember much about that match. And for an AJ Styles match, that says a lot, because he is they call him phenomenal for a reason. The guy can do anything. He could fucking wrestle a broomstick and it'd be a fucking better match than it was with Jinder Mahal. So, overall, the pay-per-view, I've kind of had a theme throughout this, in case you haven't noticed, is everything has been decent but not great. And that's kind of what the pay-per-view was for me. It was decent, it was not great. They had some entertaining parts. A lot of it I think I could have done without. I think they could have taken some segments completely out and I wouldn't have given a shit. Including a couple of matches. So that's unfortunate. And one of the biggest problems I think I have is none of these matches really made me care. From month to month, you go from matchup to matchup, and you have these conflicts that are quickly made and quicker resolved. There's no investment there. Nobody really gives a shit. And I think that's the problem that WWE is having right now, is they're not building characters and they're not developing good storylines. Everybody wants this quick fix, but I am kind of a slow burn kind of guy. When it came to wrestling, back in the Attitude Era especially, you worked on these storylines for months. Sometimes you'd go a whole fucking year with one storyline. And that slow burn, you build up and then you have this incredible payoff. Well, in this, time we live in now where everything is immediate gratification, you can't do that. And nobody fucking gives a shit anymore. You can't build up because people lose interest. Their attention span is fucking 5 minutes. So, it's really hard to say what the right thing is for WWE to do. I wouldn't want to be in their spot. They're trying to redefine what they do. And, like I said, as a fan, that's all I can speak as. It really hurts the product. So that's my review on Clash of Champions. I know I'm about a week late with this. I'm going to start doing reviews on all the WWE pay-per-views as they happen, or maybe right after they happen. And you know, that way we can get a nice back and forth of what do you guys think about the superstars, what they're doing with the storylines, the product overall. And you know, it's just fans talking to each other. I'm not a fucking smart by any means. So, you know, it's just a nice way to, you know, get some feedback from other fans and see what they think. Anyway, my name is Kevin Jackwitz. This has been the Caged Review. Cage Nation out.